Welcome everybody to another episode of Blender Today Live, where this weekly show where we see what's new in Blender, what happened today, this Blender Today, and also what is going to happen. I heard maybe tomorrow is the day where Grease Pencil is merged finally with Blender 2.8. So yes, hopefully it will be tomorrow. That's the hope. And there is this is a very special release. It's something, Grease Pencil is something that has been worked on for like forever. It was I don't know, 3 years ago that the project started, the new Grease Pencil project started, but it was actually many years ago that the first Grease Pencil was added. So it's been a while and it's really worth it. So we're gonna see a bit of what's new. There will be videos coming out. This is something that is also very nice, that the team, the Grease Pencil team, is working together, like the artists are working together with the developers. So it means that they are going to not only show like what's new, like merge it with what's new, but actually show and make documentation and like a quick tutorial on how to use the new Grease Pencil tools, because it has changed a lot. But yes, can you please reduce the gain? I will try. Mic is clipping. All right. Okay, I'm trying my best now. I lowered it a little bit. I lost my cat. Oh, don't lose your cat. Anyway, I will continue. This is live. Yes, as you can tell by the issues. Yes, it is live. It's 9:08 here in Amsterdam. It's the 30th of July. August is about to start, the month where the beta is supposed to come out. And yes. There also, I don't think it has been announced. I think there will be an announcement next week about something also pretty cool about about blender.org and stuff there in the website. So let's start with what changed today. There has been a new today there has been a meeting like every Monday where the developers discuss what has changed lately. So let's go in the last week. So let's go to the VF committer to see read the meeting notes. Let's go to the bottom, and here the meeting notes say that Grease Pencil merge is imminent. Yes, I really like that word, imminent. By the way, this is oh yeah, your chat is not there, guys. You're not seeing yourself. I'm sorry. There you go. Now, jeez. I'm sorry, embarrassing. I've been doing this for a while now. Anyway, if you want to ask questions, at Blender Today, so they appear orange here. We're streaming live on Twitch and on YouTube, but I'm reading the comments from YouTube because it's easier. So, yes, the Grease Pencil team is really happy about the merge. It's gonna happen. There is also about the news about the MatCaps that already happened this noon. There are new MatCaps that I'm gonna show now. We're gonna discuss about it. There is the workspaces that I'm working on right now. Then there is a lot of work being done in Subsurf to use Open Subdiv, and there is also the multi-res, which is a pain in the soul for the developers to get it to work again with the new for Blender 2.8. Then there is backtracker system. There were changes in the UI, so more parts of the UI are now fully single column. And there's been the reports from the School Summit of Code. So yes, a lot had happened in this last week, but let's get to what actually matters in this case, which is Blender. So how it's Blender doing today. So as always, I go to I'm already in the Grease Pencil branch. Probably there is something new. Okay, no, luckily, because the Grease Pencil guys work every day and night. So I pull all the changes before compiling, and I compiled 15 minutes ago, so this is still live. And let's open it. And I'm gonna actually I want to show something from Blender 2.8, but the developers working on Grease Pencil are actually merging the Grease Pencil branch with Blender 2.8, with the main branch, every day, multiple times a day. So it's really they're really keeping it up to date. So when the merge happens, it's not gonna be big surprises, hopefully. So open Blender as always with my shortcut. And so it's just like how fast it's opened is crazy. Anyway, let's see. This is actually the grease pencil branch, but we are going to first see the new MatCaps. So a few weeks ago, actually like 2 months ago, yes, 2 months ago, in the devtalk.blender.org forum, I made a call for MatCaps. So call for content, asking the community to contribute with MatCaps, June 6th, and it's been a while. So the call for content was pretty popular. There was over 280 posts. Now it's 297. There is feedback. There is the people submitting their own. So it's really a community effort. And there has been 22 MatCaps selected. So we're gonna see some of them right now. We're gonna see them applied to this model by Emiliano Colantoni, which he has a new short movie, I think, on YouTube. So you should check it out. So let's see, what is this? Cheers, people. I will go into the solid view because this is MatCap. MatCaps only work on the solid view. It's part of the Workbench engine, which is no longer an engine. It's just, I mean, it's what is solid mode. It's just solid mode. I really like actually the name, the Workbench. Sounds like, you know, somewhere you go and you lift and where you actually go to work. So this solid mode has the flat lighting, which we know, solid, the studio lights, which we know has a few by default. You can choose single color, material, that's very common. And now MatCaps, which were there before, these are the new MatCaps. And the great thing about the MatCaps is that they are now, unlike Blender 2.7, they are now EXR, so they are high color depth. They're 16-bit compared to the 8-bit from 2.7. So they have twice as much color information. And also they are bigger. They are 512 by 512 pixels, which is more than enough for a regular MatCap. So, you know, okay, MatCaps, what are MatCaps? MatCaps is basically a texture, like a little sphere with the lighting that is baked into a square picture that you can put on top of your mesh and point it to the camera. So when you rotate around, it adapts. The center of the MatCap is always pointing towards the camera, like the center, and then the edges are in the edges. So if we see the submissions, this is how they look. These are the MatCaps. So when you have the light in the center, this is what is going to point your mesh to. So for example, this one that has like a ceramic as a bit of a light, it's actually a light bulb. And when you select it, you can see the exact same reflections on the same side. But the cool thing is that Blender 2.8 now allows you to rotate, let me see, to rotate the MatCap. So you can put to flip it, no, sorry, not to rotate it yet, but to flip it. So you can actually flip horizontally the reflection, so you can see it on the other side without actually having to make a new MatCap. So that's pretty neat. On top of that, these MatCaps are multiplied on top of a color instead of Blender 2.7, which I'm just gonna open here. So let's open it. Maybe I can I copy file objects from one to the other? Okay, that would be pretty neat. Okay, Shift L, select, sorry, Shift G, select the same type. So I select all the meshes. Then I will control, I will do edit. No. Okay, I'm gonna copy objects. Okay, this is embarrassing. How can I copy the objects? It was here. Object. Okay, it's very embarrassing. It should be here. Anyway, Ctrl C doesn't copy the objects anymore. Oh yeah, copy selected object to the buffer. There you go. and then paste it and it works. Ha! Copying an object from Blender 2.8 and 2.7, it works. All right, so now I'm gonna select the MatCaps, which were in this messy menu in here, MatCap. And if you select the MatCaps, these were the MatCaps in Blender 2.7. So some of them, they were okay. They had, they were lacking a bit of information. Some of them, like this one, for example, this you can see some there, but this one was a bit poor compared to the new version, which has a bit of more contrast, so you can actually see better. So this is 2.8 and this is 2.7. So to compare, you can see the new one has a bit more contrast, which is pretty nice, unlike the previous one. And of course, if you have I think I don't have, no, I don't have the filmic enabled. So this is pure how it looks and without the thing here. So as you can see, there is already an improvement in how much you can see and how the lighting is in these objects. So you also have a few others. This is the black one, which I really like. It's very nice for long sessions, sculpting at night. Then you have the normals, which there was a version of the normals that didn't change much. Then there were others that were more artistic, like this one, this pink reflective one, which I know the guy that made it. It was more like it wasn't really that useful. It was okay, it was more like car paint-ish, but I prefer the car paint one here in Blender 2.8, which is a bit more, it's a lot more contrasted, so you can see it. And on top of that, it means that being the Blender 2.8 is a workbench engine, means that you can take a MatCap and you can multiply it on top of, but it's actually multiplied always on top of the colors underneath. So if you choose random, for example, you will see as a random color of your MatCap shading, you will see that the MatCap shading is multiplied on top of your mesh of your model. So for example, the brighter MatCaps work better because it's almost white. So when you have a color underneath, it multiplies properly. But if you have a dark color with a dark MatCap, it doesn't really work that well. But for example, for these kind of MatCaps that are more neutral, they work pretty well. And if you mix it on top with like a cavity shader, it works even better. So you get a very nice bump in your model. You can even use shadows. So okay, the shadow will probably make it slow and you will probably not be able to do much. But yes, what an improvement over Blender 2.7. So big props to the community. You made it happen. Are you someone that made MatCaps in there? Congrats to you. Congrats. And of course, remember, all of the MatCaps that are posted here, they're public domain. So you can do anything you want there. That was one of the conditions, that everybody that is posting things here in this thread, it would be released as Creative Commons 0, basically public domain. So you can do whatever you want with them. And there are some really nice ones, but the idea was to not add all of them, because otherwise you end up with way more than what you actually need for production. And with Blender 2.8 now supporting the mixing between the shading and the MatCap, you really don't need all of them. You need only a handful of these models. So pretty awesome. I'm gonna answer questions towards the end, but for example, this one, when Blender 2.8 is coming to Steam. Blender 2.8 is coming to Steam the same day that is coming to Blender.org, which is at the end of the year, hopefully. Who knows it depends on how good the testing is and how the bug reports go. So the idea is there will be a release candidate around October. That is for the Blender conference, and then there will be fixes all of November, December. So it's hard to tell at this point, but you should be able to use 2.8 soon when it's in beta, and especially when it's a release candidate. Not only you will be able to use 2.8, you should be using 2.8 when the release candidate comes out, so that you can report bugs and then everybody can benefit from the developers fixing them. So the more we test it, the better it will be. So next. What is the next thing? Well, I'm going to show a little bit of the grease pencil changes that happened recently. So I don't want to steal the party from when it's going to happen tomorrow, which is a actual release. So I'm going to actually do the full-on live stream next week. I'm going to do a video this week, tomorrow, the day after, about what is going on with grease pencil, what's new, what's not. But basically, grease pencil is this new object that you can add. It's a primitive, just like any kind of mesh or a primitive, but yeah, one of the default objects that you can add. So just like a camera, like a light, any of those things. You can add a blank one, which is empty, or you can also add a monkey, monkey is fantastic. And one of the features that I wanted to show that is gonna be that it was added this week, like last week, is a feature request that the grease pencil guys had. Because when you're modeling, it's okay to have a dark background, right? You're modeling, it's okay, you're just doing stuff, so it's fine to have a dark background. But when you're painting, usually you start with a black, like when you're painting on other software, for example, you usually have like a canvas that is brighter, that is like paper. So for that, the new option was added for the background color of the viewport. So you can choose theme, which is gonna use the color of the theme. It's like not having a background, basically. Then you can use world, which is going to use the colors of the world. The color of the world sounds poetic. You can in the viewport display, you can choose the color that you want, and this is gonna be used as the color of the world. But what happens that if you're in another workflow, for example, in another workspace, and you're animating, it means that whatever you have the world color is gonna come with it. And maybe you just want to do grease pencil animation in one, and you want to do something else in another one. Or maybe you want to have just this viewport with a specific color so you can actually tell the objects apart. So that is the new feature that was added, that you can not only choose the theme color, which is the background, or the world, you can also choose the viewport color. So viewport is a new option that allows you to add a color just to this viewport. So you can have different colors for different viewports. And that is fantastic because it allows you for these crazy workspaces where you can actually have one with the real color that you want, the one with another, what you don't want. And it gives a lot more freedom to the artists to choose. And you can continue and go back to the other workspaces, and this is part of the viewport, so it doesn't come over. So that is pretty neat. Cheers, people. Another pretty cool thing that was added yesterday was a new grid type for the grease pencil objects. So in the 3D view, you can select grid, but when you are in the draw mode of a grease pencil, you have a very special type of grid, which is in the overlays panel, and it's called canvas grid. So basically it's a grid that you can just change, you can fade it, and you can change the size and the subdivision levels, and the axis, and that way you have like a nice, you know where you're drawing. So if you're moving your object around, you know in which level your object is, the selected one that you have. So that is pretty neat. And it's for the active object too, so you have it always there. And there is another option that, okay, I'm gonna remove the viewport color. There's another option that is also pretty useful, and it's similar to this concept of having like an overlay for this one object, which is the fade 3D objects. Maybe we can come up with a better name, but it's basically it fades the objects underneath. So it fades all the geometry that is in the background that is not grease pencil. So that way, if you have the overlays, it will fade them, or it will basically fade to white, and then you can see it. It's pretty neat. Then you have onion skinning, you have all these specific overlays for the grease pencil mode. Another thing that was added, and that, well, not was added, but it just came back, is the ability to add annotations, to make annotations, to actually draw on your like add notes to your animation, for example. So because grease pencil in the past was used for everything, so in Blender 2.7 the grease pencil was used for annotating things, but also for animation. So you could have layers, and then you can also change like the fill color of your shape, so you never really knew what kind of animation you were doing. It's like this is like a full-on animation or just adding notes, and it was a bit of an overkill to have so many features for a simple annotation tool. So if you're an artist and just want to add a few notes for your animation, like you're just making a you got a play blast in the sequencer, because you can. So if you're in the sequencer, you can draw with grease pencil, and you'll have all the and here, and you have all the features that you will have in a similar like in a grease pencil object, but it's gonna be a bit of an overkill. So for that, there's a separation now between the grease pencil tool and the grease pencil, not grease pencil, annotations. So under the hood is like a annotation, it's like a grease pencil, but it's a much more simplified UI, simplified everything. For example, in the grease pencil objects, they have materials. So I'm not gonna go into detail because I want to make a full video into it, but the strokes on a grease pencil object are simple materials. So they really look like the, like a mesh, right? They have the same concept of a mesh. You can select the material, you have colors, you have fill colors. So you basically have like a material. It's a very similar concept. So it's, this concept doesn't translate when you're doing simple notes. If you want to add a simple note to your, do I see it here? Okay, I don't see it. I wonder why. Oh, because I turned off annotations here. Annotate, there you go. I'm making a note now, and I can disable annotations. It's just a simple overlay on your top of your scene. So you see the grease pencil object, this is how you can tell the difference. You have a monkey here, which is your grease pencil object, and you can have annotations on top. So annotation is an overlay, while grease pencil object is an actual object. So where can you hide it? From the object type visibility popover. Just hide the grease pencil, or you make it unselectable. It's the same. It will show up in the outliner with a little pen icon, and then you can see it's just like a regular object with its own modifiers. So you can have a build modifier, for example, where it starts drawing the monkey automatically. You can also, it's so cool, I'm gonna leave it in repeat and playback, set last frame, and there you go. So you see the difference between annotations and grease pencil. They're completely two different things. You can change the color of a note, you can change the thickness right now, and where to place it. So where, if it's on the surface, on the view, or in the 3D cursor, which makes sense because sometimes you want to be sure where you're putting your annotation, but there is a difference between the two. So yes, I think I covered most of the things that I wanted to show. There are a few things that I'm not gonna show right now, like animation or like yeah, how it works with the dope sheet, how it works with the video effects, because you can add effects, you can add blur, you can add crazy stuff. Swirl. Okay, the swirl I want. Okay, let's just make a little swirl. I'm in object mode. There. Ah, well, it's working pretty well. Wait. Oh, because they're too close to each other. Okay, that's just fantastic. The fact that you can do this with a grease pencil object is just crazy. All right, I'm not gonna continue with this. If you want to know more, you should check out Hero, the Hero Open Movie project, which was made with a similar concept than this. The version that Hero uses it was using a development version before. The effects, for example, were mixed with the modifiers, and now they're a different thing, they're a different concept. So that's why they might not be compatible, but there will be documentation and there will be training for Grease Pencil coming up. There will be training both in the Blender official channel, which the other day somebody asked if the Blender there is a channel called Blender Tutorials that is on YouTube that is taking all the really old open movie projects, open movie workshops, like the one that I made some years ago. This boy, yeah, they're old right now, and somebody's putting them up on YouTube again. Anyway, that being said, there will be training in the Blender YouTube channel and in the Blender Cloud for more advanced stuff. So stay tuned for that. I think I can start answering the questions right now. I think I don't have the toggle timestamp. Here you go. Okay, I'm just gonna go up and read the questions all the way up. Here, okay, this is where the audio was terrible. Sorry about that. Hi, Pablo, there's a new... Okay, I'm gonna start around here. Yeah, 9 p.m. All right. So, hello everyone. Thank you for staying until this moment for the actual question and answers, Q&A. Hi, Pablo. Hi, Ives. Does the new layers collection system allow us to do light linking? How does it work? If not, do you know when will that arrive in Blender, roughly? The new layers and collection system does not let you do light linking for like the way light linking is like limiting to light groups, right? Light linking is not a concept in Blender, but it was in Blender internal that you could, I think that's what you refer. In other softwares, it's what Blender internal used to call a light groups, right? So you could limit a lighting to a group. So if you have, for example, I'm gonna add another lamp. Feels so weird to use 2.7. Okay, sun. So for example, I added this sun lamp with energy 100, and it's not affecting my object because it's not part of the group. But if I add it to the group, then if Blender internal decides to start, there you go, to refresh, and it's part of that light group, so it affects it. So this is how it works in Blender 2.7. There is no such thing at the moment for Blender 2.8 for cycles or for Eevee. For Eevee though, there is something similar for that it's in the light props. So light props can be limited, can affect only certain collections. So if you have a collection, you can make it only affect that, but it's for light props, not for lights. Yeah, still. So that would be actually pretty cool if we could have that, because that would make it, yeah, lighting a lot easier. So, but I guess it can be kind of difficult to do that in with ray tracing. So yeah, it will be awesome. But that said, there is a talk, and I think I mentioned this talk always in YouTube, youtube.com, and there is the Brecht Blender conference cycles. Yes, the roadmap from some time ago, where Brecht mentions that it's on the roadmap. So yeah, it is on the roadmap. The light linking. Okay, I only answer the questions with orange, but since we have a bit of time, I'm gonna reply. So Joseph says, I noticed that the new shader RGB node in Eevee doesn't work with post-process effects like screen space reflection. Is it possible to make post-process work with the new node? That's a good question, Joseph. I have don't know actually. I didn't try it. I was playing the other day with this little fella. If you have the Venom's Lab DVDs, you probably recognize this guy. So I resurrected this boy from from my files, and I made it in Eevee. So I almost live streamed this last night because it was fun to open. This file is actually made with Blender 2.40 something. It was really old, like more than 10 years old, this file. And it opened in Blender 2.8 just fine. And I started to replace all the materials that were made with Blender 2.4. And it surprisingly worked pretty well, actually. I'm very surprised. I think I have the other, because I couldn't make it work with on Linux because I didn't have the library. But if I do Wine, I can open it with Wine actually, and I will open Blender 2.45. Look at this beautiful thick boy, 2.45. So this is the one that I use for making an animation that is called Bounce to Space, and it probably doesn't remember. No, it doesn't remember, but I had it somewhere here. It was an old file, but I can show you. If I remember what it is, it's in Media Data Pro. Okay, I should be reading other, not in MIDI, in Mixly. Mixly is my folder that it means cloud in Nahuatl, I think, if I don't remember wrong. So this is Tilin, that's the name of the guy. And this is, in 2.4 you couldn't double click to open. Like you couldn't double click, what kind of, yes, that's what we suffered. And today people complain about things. So this is how we used to work. And let's see if it even renders, sorry. XDR saving only allowed equally sized part. I was rendering it EXR, save buffers. I was fancy back then. Okay, no, I opened the wrong file. Anyway, I'm not gonna try it right now, but basically, yeah, it opened in the frame 300,000. So okay, opening Blender via Wine is not the best idea, but I actually opened that file in Blender 2. In a very old version, and it just went just fine with Blender, with Eevee. And that said, I was nothing to do with your question. Sorry, I just wanted to show the little boy here. So I still don't get used to the to control space and shift space. Here's a bug. When you are, okay, bug reports are not open yet, the bug reports. So save it for later. Only crash reports. If Blender crashes, then yes, but not, no regular bug reports yet. So sometimes when importing other file formats in Blender internal automatically assign textures, but Cycles doesn't. Can this be added to 2.8? Yes, of course it can be added. It's just part of the importer or exporter, importer in this case. But yeah, it's an importer, so it's an add-on. It's part of an add-on. Every importer is an add-on, basically a script. So can you please reduce again? Thank you. I think the audio is fine now. Please add back Z and A shortcut like it was. it's possible to add it back. And the C key is still being discussed as a shortcut for presets. Have you seen my wireframe mockup on the 2.8 feedback forums? And if so, what are your thoughts? I haven't seen it, but did you, Dev? I don't know, for some reason, it doesn't remember my URLs anymore. So I probably have it somewhere here. Wireframe mockup notes and suggestions. This one. So it's a wireframe, it's a proposal about a wireframe mode. So it has a solid color, the color of all the wireframes, or random color for different wireframes. Okay, color wireframes, that's something that happened, that didn't happen actually, but it was it was planned to be added with the rule system. So because having random colors is useful, but also having colors per type, per attribute is also useful. So that's a part of a color system that was never added, but that was the idea. But now that we have color objects, why not having color wireframes? I mean, it's just, I mean, if you have one, then why not having the other? So yeah, it looks pretty neat actually. The edge size and vertex size is should be easy to add. The opacity is like similar to what we have now. Yeah, it's actually a nice concept. So 2.5 with Sintel was the first version of Grease Pencil, right? No. Well, I mean, this is Blender 2 I have. No. Okay, maybe not this one, but it was already in 2.4. There was Grease Pencil already. Okay, this is a bit too old. But in 2. Yeah. No, image preview. No, you can't. But in 2.4 there is a version with Grease Pencil, I think. At the end. Thomas, my sister says hello to you, Pablo. Hey, hello, Thomas' sister. How are you doing? How are you doing? Hola, Joey. Fahad says, how should we select the back face vertex like we did in 2.79 in wireframe mode? So you're saying that how in edit mode you can select the back face. You just press set and then you select the ones in the back. So it's the same, it's just that it's not fully transparent. It's a 50% transparent that you can tweak. If you put the X right to 0, it's the same concept, if I understand correctly. Stephen Wolf says, I would love Blender to have PBR painting tools like Substance Painters. Yeah, who wouldn't love that, right? It's like, no, I wouldn't love. Of course, everybody will love that. Yes, that would be amazing. So where are the developers? Come on. We need more developers. Now, developers, you wanted to develop something for Blender. This is the first time in history that the developers have not only IRC to ask, or the mailing list, but also a forum where you can go full nerd and ask things about trying to implement sculpt layers and asking things about B-mesh and mesh data and crazy things that the developers are like helping you with. Imagine you have full access to the knowledge of the Blender developer. So it's the best time now to become a Blender developer. I think if you make a PBR painting tool in Blender, no one is gonna complain. So yes. X-Dragon says, here's a bug. And here is the bug tracker, which is not open yet for Blender 2.8. So Kai Jones says, will the Matcap options be eventually expanded to have tweakable options with presets? Hue, saturation, contrast, blurriness, etc. This will decrease needed Matcaps as well. Well, actually, the saturation, the hue, and the rotation, there were options already in the Clay engine, the late Clay engine. So maybe it makes sense to bring them back. It wouldn't. Well, we need to ask with the developers if it adds overhead. If what is the deal? Maybe if it's not too bad, then it should be fine to add. It would be great actually, because with popovers, now we have a full section, like with the tabs here. You can just keep adding sections. You have buttons here. We have room for adding options, unlike in 2.7 where we didn't have room. So original says, using imperial units, if I move an object a fraction of an inch, distance reads in thousands of inch. Possible decimal inches with use fixed decimal places. Yeah, they that's something that it pops out all the time, especially now that Blender 2.8 has metric units by default, like units basically by default, unlike 2.7 where units were turned off by default. It makes sense, and this is something that's going to be tackled on. Developers already, there were discussions about this, and the developers agreed that it is needed to have a way to have a constant setting for your measurements. For example, here we have 10 centimeters, 50 millimeters, and 1 kilometer. Well, 50 millimeter focal length makes sense, but for meters, kilometers, and centimeters, it should probably be all the same. There should be an option here where you could just choose always show centimeters, or whatever you need. And yeah, it is a great, and it's probably another thing that is not that hard for new developers to join in. So please, we need more developers, and there is job for you to do. There is fame. People will love you. If you come to the conference, you're gonna get free beer probably. Yes. Anyway, Sage does stuff. Any development on particle hair? I just learned how to do particle hair with almost perfect collisions. The video is on my channel. Hey, nice plug for your channel. But I know there is no development on particle hair at the moment, but there, like, simulations might be some work on there, but not for like actually making particle hair. Hey Pablo, hey Wizard, what do you think of having the operator panel be available in a separate editor window? The operator panel be available in a separate, nice click to right click select. Nice plug. Let's go to right click select because it's a nice website. And this is the ID. So having the operators in a separate editor. Oh, well, I mean, that is the same as having, I would just have a tab, like having here, the tool tabs. So when you move, you could have this guy. This is what you mean, the F6 basically. Here. Yeah, we could have it here. We already have. Another editor is a bit of an overhead for just the one panel, basically. It's always one panel, that's why. It's a bit of an overhead. Have you seen my, yes, I already asked. Replied. Marco says, how to daily update the Blender Master in local computer instead of daily download. Just compile Blender. There is, there are videos on YouTube. Would be great if you remember that I'm on YouTube. Chrome, it doesn't remember that my URLs. Blender, build Blender. There is already a tutorial. There are a few tutorials like this one 2 months ago. 279 tutorial. If you can compile Blender 279, you probably can compile Blender Master. And actually, no. Since this week, there will be a new requirement to compile it. So just follow the same concept, and you will be fine. Oh, nice. There's a question by Tails. Thank you. What is a method for importing icons? I will suggest the theme tab in the settings, but I don't see the option. So importing icons at the moment is not possible in Blender 2.8. But that said, since I've been opening Blender 2.45, I will show you that in Blender 2.4 it was possible in the themes. You could choose the theme that you wanted, and then you can just choose icon pack, UI buttons, and then icon file, and then you could specify a icon file or one that you had. Okay, here I cannot, but basically you just could pick a file. And I tried looking into it to see if it was possible to bring it back, but no, I couldn't I couldn't. I just brought back the UI and I found the commit log where it said that where it was removed from the UI because it just didn't work. So that also is another thing that it shouldn't take too long to compile, to bring back. But that said, actually, if you go to your Blender source, if you compile Blender, you can do it super easy. It's in the ls release data files. And then fem, I'm gonna open here. So if you open, oops, I wanted to open Blender source, here we go. So if you compile your own Blender, it's very simple. It's in release data files on your source, release data files, and it's called Blender icons, SVG. Then you can just run the icons update and it will make all the little objects for you. But that's how you can also replace your splash, or you can replace any image in Blender, not only the icons. But yeah, all right. Thank you very much for collaboration. Then, have you seen my wireframe mockup? Yes, I already replied. How to do the daily update on Blender Master? The same, just compile once, learn to compile once, and then you just do git checkout Blender 2.8, and then you use Blender 2.8, or git checkout a Google Summit of Code, for example, 2018 Mainly, and then you have this branch, and usually you don't need to do anything. You just change, and then you just compile, and then that's it. And it's super easy. And for master, it's just call master, and it's the same. So usually it's very simple. You learn once and you apply it many times. Best Danny says, what will happen with the UV editing gizmos? Will this be clickable in the beta final release for this or disappear? UV editing gizmos. No, they will be improved. The gizmos in the edit mode, they're like a proof of concept, and if they don't work for the beta, they will go. They will be like implemented properly as a tool. And yeah, there is actually in the image editor, there is already a T panel with the tools. So I assume there will be more tools coming there, but the tool system is going to be worked on by Campbell in the upcoming months. Kai John says, there is a lot of complaints regarding the grid lines fading into geometry. Yes, I know. The grid is far from perfect, especially because when you're at a distance, you don't know exactly when it intersects. Sometimes it's on top, it's drawn on top. Like here, for example, it's drawn on top, so it just doesn't make any sense. And also, it's the fading is also weird when your camera, it's based on your clip start and clip end. So if your clip start is too little, then it loses. You see, it loses like. It's just weird. Eek. And oh wow, that's fancy. Do you get to see the error? That the lines are like confused. Anyway, when you have a too short of a distance, or a very weird distance, then it doesn't work properly. So if it doesn't work well, it shouldn't be implemented that way, or at least let you choose the option. So but please report that and provide feedback in the user feedback code quest. Provide feedback. This is the code quest feedback, which is, and the grid is part of that, so it should be there. Can I ask what the status of OpenSubDiv? It's in progress, and it will be amazing. So yes, it's coming, and it will have creases, it will have all the awesome stuff. Will adaptive subdivision work in Eevee? Not at the moment. Not that I know for the time being. UV project modifier seems to limit to vertex group in 2.7. We had to assign faces to a text via internal and use it as projection, but now that internal is removed, limiting is impossible. Yes, I know, that is one of the limitations that happen with the, but that should be reported as a limitation, because then it will mean that people are really using it, and then the more noise you make is basically what it will come back. But it's kind of an obscure option, so you should make yourself listen. I will remember it to the developers. I was there with the live when it was removed. There are a few parts where Blender internal was crucial to be used, so like baking, for example. So that will be back, but the more people ask for it, the more priority will be given. But there is still so much to do with 2.8 that there will be time for that. Will Grease Pencil object be able to cast shadows? Yes. Yes. Let's here add a plane. Let's add a monkey. I love this monkey, by the way. It's drawn by Matias Mendiola. So if you add a spot and wait, now I'm gonna look like an idiot because I didn't test this before, but I saw it working. So okay, I know I'm gonna look like an idiot, but basically you should be able. I saw it. It's on Hero, where they can draw. This is how prepared I am to make stuff. All right, I'm not gonna make a demo about this, but basically the same an object does. You should be able to do it. Is there anybody there? Anyway, from the Grease Pencil team. But the next Grease Pencil, if you want to see, maybe we can have a special guest, which I didn't even ask now. I'm just making it public. Okay, next. Any news on interactive mode? Not yet. It's gonna be, I think September is when Benoit Bolset starts working on it, and there might be work starting sooner, but that won't be sooner than August, September. So the next month, which starts tomorrow in 2 days. Next, Tim asks, "Hey Pablo, hi Tim. I'm wondering if Blender 2.8 will support the open source AMD OpenCL drivers, since they dropped the Catalyst drivers and Arc dropped the compat." I'm not sure. That depends on AMD, I think, because yeah, I think that depends on more in AMD than regular than Blender itself. But Blender is good. Actually, AMD is good friends with Blender, so there was a big chance. They actually pay for developers and they pay for many. Like they're good guys. Yes, AMD. Thank you, AMD. You were good. Also, thank you, NVIDIA. Thank you, everyone. All right. Xdragon says the tilde key doesn't work with the keyboard I use. Can you tell me what to do? I would just change it from the user pref. The tilde is really not that crucial. You can use it for the view menu, but it's really not that crucial. It's a weird key that you have to map yourself. For example, in my keyboard, which is the English International keyboard, US International, I think, it's here next to the set, instead of being this one, which is in every normal keyboard. But in the Spanish keyboard, is in the next to the L, in the ñ key. Maybe that gives you a hint. Tonton asks, is there a way to keep sliders in panels like render world apparent? No. More to see on top or in bottom. And no, I don't think I understand. Sorry. To keep sliders apparent. Okay, will the grid floor be adjusted? I already replied. Khalil says, what about supporting other languages like Arabic? That is in Blender 2.4, that was already, I think. But yeah, Arabic support in Blender is far from ideal. If you enable from the system international settings, you can choose the language, and there is Arabic, but it's far from perfect. Like, it's not aligned to the left all the time. It's not all the words are translated. There are a few missing, but yes, it's far from perfect. But I always recommend people to not use the UI in their native language, but instead use only the tooltips. So that way you can leave the mouse, you can learn from tutorials, watching tutorials in English, which are the people that make the most, and then you leave the mouse over and you can read in your native language. So that is what I recommend. What is the Twitch link? Isn't it in the... Yes, it's on the here at the bottom. It's Pablo. It's my personal one. I don't know if it makes sense. If there is enough people, I will make a one for Blender today, but I'm just using my own right now at the moment. Then, well, okay, I'm almost running out of time. Hey Pablo, any chance of the patch D321 text hinting support to be included? Yes, of course. I so want that blender.org. This patch is fantastic. It makes everything look great. I don't know what's the status of this, but basically it makes everything a lot more readable. And I already gave it a heart here. Hey, I heart it. I can't do much more than hearting besides annoying the developers to see what is the status of this. But has it been assigned to anyone? Reviewers Campbell. I can poke Campbell again. Hopefully he will. He's so much work in his desk, from tools, from bugs, from all kinds of stuff. So people love it. And here you can see Venom GFX, that's me, and then Bill Rainish, which is William Rainish, the other UI person. The UI team is just 2 people for the time being. So both of us love it. So yes, it has support. We just need to have the time to add it. But yes, I will subscribe to this. Then, okay, next. Novrizda says, hi Pablo, I miss your Amaranth toolset already in 2.8. It is in 2.8, I think. I enabled it the other day, Amaranth. I didn't compile it. But wait, I updated it. It's now part of the add-on contriv Blender 2.8, so it has to be in the add-ons contriv. It's a special place on Earth for that add-on. And I already updated it. It works. There are a few tools that do not work because they are depend on Blender 2.7 stuff, but I'm gonna keep updating it. And I already have even some ideas that I want to add to Amaranth to add more options here that we're not allowed to add regularly in Blender, but I think they're useful, so I'm gonna be adding. We are not allowed in the sense that it's not for everyone, so it doesn't make sense to add it, but anyway. Thank you, by the way. And will full shading, text painting in Eevee coming to beta release? Should be possible to paint full shading. Or if not, it will be possible, yes. You should check out in the cloud. There is a tutorial, a video by Julian, new material view for texture painting.
This is
awesome. That's who it is. So basically it's a video from Julian Kaspa, our character artist at the Blender Studio. He's working on the Spring Open Movie project, and he's showing how he explains
the material, and I can just texture it, and it runs smooth.
How he's mapping all the textures.
There's pretty much no noticeable lag.
No noticeable lag. And then PVR comes in and then makes everything awesome. Okay, I'm gonna mute this, but basically is okay, that's cycles, but this is Eevee, so it's just painting with nice PVR textures. Can an option be added to keybind the opening and closing panels? Yeah, A key should open. Yes, the A key opens and closes the panel. So press A over the panel and we'll do it. And then you can also click drag to open all the panels, or you can also control click on a panel to collapse all the other panels. So it will open the panel and the sub panels, but it will collapse all the other ones. So yeah. I will start saying goodbye because I already ran out of time. It's unfair though because I only read like 10 minutes of questions, but any news about the new Cloud Sim simulation? No. We want back seed and A shortcut like it was. Yes, I also want that. Alt A, make it slow to work with A to select and deselect back. I'm actually getting used to the A and deselect, but I know what you mean. A made sense, and Alt A also makes sense once you get used to it. And I'm actually getting used to it, unfortunately, but let's let's make some noise to get it back. When will we see the new icons? When they're finished. There is a thread on Blender Artist, I think, where you can see the progress. Will we get the option to adjust how blurry HDRs are? Not at the moment, because when you run an like an HDR image, they will be put on your config Blender folder. Config, no, data files to the lights. There will be like a version. Okay, I don't have it here, but there will be like a blurred version, smaller blur version. So it has to be done all the time. Is there a hold my beer for today for applying a material to all the objects in a render layer like there used to be in 2.79? Or is it coming with dynamic? Hey, you answer yourself, Jorge. So yes, that hold my beer is not possible at the moment because that will be covered with dynamic overrides, which are coming to Blender 2.8. So yes, and they're coming like for now for the 2.8 release. So yes, okay, I will start saying goodbye because I am already running out of time. Sorry for those that I didn't manage to reply the questions, and I would love to answer some of them. Okay, could it be possible to go borderless? Yes, I made a proposal about that, and UI.Pablo Vasquez.art, even though there's everything except art in this website. There is there was my proposal where I suggested that we could put the close icons on the right side, and when you're on a Mac, I guess on the left side here. But the idea is great, but it's not as easy to implement because Blender is cross-platform, so it has to work on Mac, Linux, and Windows. So it's like an overhead that is more work, but the idea is there and it will be awesome, but it's just hard to implement. When will we be able to make parent in the outliner? So like, for example, making the lamp a parent, a children of the cube. Yeah. So like this, you mean? Or not? Let's see it again. You add a monkey. You select the monkey by the icon and then you drop it in the cube, and then now you move the cube and it's a parent. So parent dropping is already possible, unless I understand wrong. But with that said, in a high note, I'm gonna leave and I'm gonna let you guys enjoy Blender 2.8. By the way, if you want to play with the new MatCaps, you can go to builder.blender.org and there you can download the development builds. Remember, this is under production. Do not save your important files with it. Especially do not go from Blender 2.8 to 2.7 and back and forth. Do not do that. If you're going to use 2.8, just stay with 2.8 and keep working with the latest version. Because yeah, otherwise you might lose some data. Always back up your stuff, flaws, call your mom or dad or best friends if you have them. Otherwise, I will see you again in the next week. And this time I'm not going to warn you about the headphones because people say that audio is always low. So I will go. Ciao. So nice. See you guys. See you next week. Give it a thumbs up, please, or subscribe if you want to see more every week. Ciao.